For years, men have believed that female desire awakens through gentle touches, kisses, or sweet words. But the truth is far more unsettling and much deeper. The point that truly makes her lose control is not on her neck, not on her lips, not even in any place you could imagine. It's in her brain. It's a neurosensory response that activates when she feels you are completely attuned to her energy, not her body. It sounds complex, but it's not. It's pure science. And if you learn how to do it, you can trigger a reaction so intense that her body will respond long before you even touch her. It all begins with an ancient confusion. Men were trained to associate pleasure with action, result, and control. But the female brain doesn't respond to direct action. It responds to context, anticipation, and emotional surrender. When a man approaches with desire, her body senses it. But when he approaches with presence, her brain interprets it as a threat transformed into curiosity. And that's when something extraordinary happens. The limbic system, responsible for pleasure and emotional memory, activates, releasing a cascade of oxytocin, dopamine, and serotonin. She doesn't know why her breathing suddenly quickens, but her body remembers. Her brain translates it as connection. And suddenly something changes in her eyes. This is where almost every man fails. 99% of them ruin it without realizing it. Not because they are clumsy, but because they do the right thing, the wrong way. They try to touch the body when they should be touching the mind. They seek a reaction when they should be inviting surrender. And what's fascinating is that once you understand this, you realize you don't need more intensity, you need more synchrony. Synchrony is the language of female desire. When she senses that your rhythm adapts to hers, when your pauses match her breathing, her body enters a biological trance. Literally, her nervous system synchronizes with yours. In that instant, she's no longer thinking, she's feeling. And what she feels isn't physical pleasure, it's recognition. It's the deep awareness that someone finally understands what her body has been trying to say without words. Neuroscience calls this somatosensory coherence. It's the moment when two bodies communicate without language, only through breath, rhythm, and temperature. And here lies the key. When you master that rhythm, her body starts to react involuntarily. Not because you force it, but because biology commands it. Her pulse increases, her skin changes temperature, her breathing becomes unsteady, and blood flows to areas that were previously still. All of this happens before any physical contact. The real point of desire is not on the skin. It's in the anticipation created just before the first touch. If you can master that second, that delicate line between what hasn't yet happened and what's about to, she's already lost. Many men don't understand that the female body doesn't seek impact. It seeks continuity. Female pleasure doesn't explode, it accumulates. Every second of calm builds a higher level of arousal. If you arrive too fast, you break it. If you make her wait with intention, you ignite her from the inside out. It's as if her mind were asking you to read her, not touch her. And when you fulfill that silent request, her body reacts with an intensity that no physical technique could ever reproduce. At that point, tongues, lips, or hands cease to matter. What matters is the message you send through your breath, your rhythm, and your gaze. Her body doesn't respond to technique. It responds to intention. Science confirms it. When a woman feels safe, understood, and attentively observed, her brain deactivates the prefrontal cortex, the rational part, and hands control over to the limbic system, the home of pure desire. That's the moment when she loses control, and even she doesn't understand why. That's why I tell you clearly, the secret isn't where you touch her, but how you prepare her before you do. If you approach too quickly, you interrupt her neurological process. But if you envelop her in a steady rhythm, if you make her feel your presence before she feels your touch, her mind will already have chosen to surrender. You can't force that, you can only invite it. And the most powerful invitation isn't made with words, but with silence. It's your breath that calls her, your pause that intrigues her, your calm that disarms her. Imagine this scene. You move closer, slowly, without touching her. You let your breath hover over her skin so she feels the difference in temperature between the air and your warmth. You don't kiss her yet. You wait. That waiting is a message. I'm here, but I'm not in a hurry. Her brain translates it as safety, and her body starts to release dopamine. That dopamine prepares her nerve endings to amplify any coming touch. When you finally touch her skin, the pleasure doesn't come from the contact. It comes from the anticipation. That's why the first touch, when done with presence, is worth more than 1,000 rushed caresses. It's not about technique. It's about learning to listen with your skin. And here's the detail almost no one tells you. The place you should kiss her isn't anatomical, it's emotional. There's a point on her neck where the skin is thinnest and nerve endings cross thermal fibers that doesn't respond to pressure but to rhythm. If you kiss her quickly, she won't feel it. If you do it slowly, exhaling as you do, her brain releases oxytocin. And that hormone doesn't just relax her, it connects her. It's the same chemical the body releases during an embrace after love, the same one that bonds, the one that turns a kiss into memory. That's the difference between touching her and moving her. Most men chase the instant fire. But the ones who truly understand the female mind know that the most powerful flame begins with an almost invisible spark. The feeling of being completely understood. You don't need more force, you need more presence. If you master this art, she won't just remember you. Her body will react to you even when you're not there. Because the brain doesn't distinguish between memory and experience. What you imprint once, she will feel every time she thinks of you. What you are about to understand goes beyond technique. It is a reprogramming of the way you communicate with the female body. It is not about learning new movements, but about unlearning the impulse to seek results. Most men act with the conditioned reflex of wanting to make her finish. But female pleasure is not conquered. It is cultivated. It is a process of expansion, not of pressure. And when you understand this, everything changes. Because a woman's body does not respond to insistence, but to harmony. What excites her most is not the action, but the rhythm with which that action turns into presence. From a physiological point of view, the female body possesses a network of more than 8,000 nerve endings concentrated in its most sensitive area, all connected to the pudendal nerve and in turn to the limbic system, which is the emotional center of the brain. But that circuit only reaches its maximum potential when the nervous system is calm. Male anxiety, the rush, the need to see an immediate reaction, interrupts the transmission of those electrical impulses. That is why many times, just when you think she is about to reach the climax, something stops. It is not that you did it wrong. It is that her brain received the wrong signal. Danger, pressure, stop. On the other hand, when the rhythm is constant, when your breathing is slow, her nervous system synchronizes with yours and pleasure flows without interruption. In that state, time ceases to exist. The first step to achieving this is something as simple as it is ignored. Shared breathing. There is no more powerful technique than synchronizing your breathing with hers. By doing so, you create what in neuroscience is called cardiac coherence, a harmony between heartbeats and the body's oxygen cycles. That coherence reduces cortisol, the stress hormone, and increases the production of oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine. In simple terms, the body enters a chemical state ideal for pleasure. The mind relaxes, tension disappears, and every stimulus feels deeper. So before touching her, breathe with her. Do not think, just feel her rhythm and let yours adapt. Breathing becomes a secret language between the two. The second step is continuity. Many men believe that varying rhythm or intensity keeps excitement alive, but in reality what it does is break the pleasure circuit. The female brain needs constancy to accumulate sensation. Every time you change the pattern, you reset the process. It is like climbing a mountain and stopping before reaching the summit. In contrast, a steady, repetitive, and conscious rhythm creates what is called sensory summation, a gradual accumulation of stimuli that raises intensity without tiring the body. This phenomenon, documented in studies on female pleasure at Rutgers University, explains why women can reach multiple consecutive peaks when the stimulus is not interrupted. You do not need more strength, you need more precision. The third step is visual and emotional contact. The gaze not only communicates desire, it also regulates brain chemistry. When you look at her with presence, without anxiety, without distraction, her amygdala interprets your face as a source of safety. That safety deactivates the defense system and allows arousal to grow without fear. If during the encounter she feels that she can close her eyes without losing your attention, the body responds with a wave of unconscious pleasure. The mind no longer seeks control, it surrenders. That is why true intensity is not born from movement, but from the bond that is created in that shared silence. If you want to take this to the highest level, apply the rule of prolonged expectation. Approach slowly but with intention. Do not touch her immediately. Play with temperature, with distance, with the air you exhale near her skin. Her brain does not distinguish between expectation and reality. Both release dopamine. That dopamine acts as a promise of pleasure, preparing sensory receptors to amplify every future sensation. The longer you delay contact, the greater the dopamine release when it finally occurs. And when the first kiss comes after that waiting, the body does not interpret it as a physical stimulus, but as an emotional reward. It is the same mechanism that activates euphoria in love. From there, the secret lies in rhythm. Use your tongue or your lips not as tools, but as a metronome that follows her breathing. If you notice that she exhales, stop for a moment. If she inhales, accompany the movement. This creates neurological synchrony in which the heartbeat, breathing, and electrical impulses of the body align. It is literally a biological dance. When that alignment is maintained long enough, the body enters a state that neurophysiologists call somatic coherence, a kind of orgasmic trance where mind and body merge. She does not feel localized pleasure. She feels an expansion that travels through her back, her chest, her legs. It is complete pleasure, the kind that cannot be faked or forgotten. And here is something that almost no one explains. The female climax is not produced by the intensity of the stimulus, but by the disappearance of control. It arrives when the brain stops anticipating and completely surrenders. If you pressure her to react, her cerebral cortex activates analysis and pleasure is interrupted. But if you maintain rhythm without seeking anything, her body will do it by itself. At that moment, you are not provoking pleasure. You are accompanying a natural process directed by her own body. And when that point arrives, you will know it by the subtle trembling, by the shortness of breath, by the involuntary movement of her hands. Do not change anything. Do not follow her, do not interrupt. Stay exactly the same. That is the golden zone. Every second that you maintain that pattern multiplies pleasure and transforms it into a complete experience. Not physical but emotional. After that moment, silence is worth more than any word. The body of a woman who has felt that kind of connection does not need explanations, because what she experiences is not only pleasure. It is recognition. Her mind stores that moment as a chemical imprint. And the most impressive thing is that this imprint remains. Weeks later, her body can react again just by remembering you. That is how powerful the somatic memory of pleasure is. That is why I tell you that what you do with calm and presence has more effect than any learned technique. What you awaken in her is not just desire. It is trust, and trust is the most powerful aphrodisiac that exists. The next time you approach a woman, do not think about how to impress her. Think about how to create that space where she can feel completely free. Breathe with her, follow her rhythm, and do not seek to control the outcome. Because when desire becomes synchrony, the physical no longer matters. And when she feels that, you will not need to do anything else. Her body will do everything for you. That is the science behind the art of pleasure. Turning biology into connection, and connection into something she will not be able to explain, but will always remember.